I don't care what's going on. I want to go back to the story of that big, powerful union trying to muscle him into signing a neutrality agreement, which is a nice phrase for unconditional surrender of the business that you built up into a major business. I want to talk about how the priest said to him, Mr. Vago,
yes.
We don't care about the truth. We just care about your signing the document. And how later he met another one by chance in a restaurant who apologetic. Can you imagine a priest confessing to Dave Vago that he was on the wrong? There's just so much richness in that story, and it's between covers of Dave Vago's book, The Devil at My Doorstep. But Sarah, you got to be my compass and my conscience. Force me to get into other labor issues than the story of how Dave Vago and his executive management services beat the famous Andy Stern-led Service Employees International Union.
Well, the reason we love that story is because at that moment, a little guy, I don't think he's so little, Dave Vago, won against the big thugs. He won single-handedly. Oh, by himself. He won. And they backed off. It is such a great story of the success of honesty, truth, and all the other things that you can think of that fall into that category.
Remember the Halloween story
where
the kids were paid by the union or maybe threatened by the union to pass out brochures against the practices of his company. Dave, we are going to get to you eventually.
No, we're not. We're just going to talk about you.
Welcome to these proceedings.
Well, thank you. It's always an honor to be on your program. And Sarah, I want to know, are you feeling better?
Oh, yes, I'm fine. I'm having a little trouble still, but I'm getting around just fine. So for those of you who don't know, I just broke a bone in my back, and I'm fine. I'm just have to rest a lot. So I'm fine.
Every day she sits comfortably for about 2 minutes longer than the day before. So we're almost there.
I'm not the story. Dave Vago is the story, and what's happening today is the story. Good night. 2 big stories. Who's taking over the Union of the Mechanics, is that right? And what's going on in Egypt with the union people marching.
Yeah,
so I know Barry's going to get to that.
Already, no honeymoon period. They're back in the square, but this time not protesters against Mubarak. Ambulance drivers and public transportation were walked off the job, and now they're in the square protesting. And just to add a note of sheer panic, I'm speaking for myself, already, the Muslim Brotherhood is asking for Sharia law. They must know something we don't, because you would think they would have a couple months, act nice, disguise yourself as a normal political operative in the 21st century, and then grab the levers of power and make your demands. Hours after Mubarak leaves, they're asking for Sharia law. We got a lot to talk about, and it'll be Dave's turn when we reconvene.
33.
Doesn't a neutrality agreement sound absolutely appealing? I mean, we're going to be like Sweden. We're going to be like Switzerland. Dave Vago, before we move on into the wide world of labor and how in the world labor in America manages to increase its power as its numbers shrink, just tell us about the neutrality agreement, and then I promise we won't live in a rearview mirror for the rest of the hour.
Well, the neutrality agreement is it's the genesis of the union's card check or Employee Free Choice Act, and it's where they got the big idea to try and get that bill passed through Congress, which failed, up through last November. And basically, it's just like the Employee Free Choice Act. It eliminates the secret ballot election. It puts restrictions on the employer, kind of a gag order, and it has provisions that increases the negotiation and arbitration terms in the contract, and to me, what was probably as egregious as anything is the fact that you had to give a list of all your employees and their home addresses, which, by the way, is what the NLRB came out recently with a remedy for an employer that has, in their words, disobeyed. And the reason they want that list of the employees and their home addresses is because with elimination of secret ballot election, it reverts to card check, and they want to go to these people's homes, which happen to some of our employees, and force themselves inside their living rooms and sit down and, intimidate them into signing union cards. And people don't think this is happening. But not only is it happening, it's picking up again.
Well, if the bill failed in Congress before November, and we're thinking of the elections of November the 2nd, 2010, if it failed before, what's it going to do now? The Republicans.
Well, didn't it come back through the back door?
Well, that's what's going on, and I'm having a hard time getting people to understand, and even some of our conservative legislators. But the White House, the Obama administration, is friends of big labor, and they are intent on passing card check one way or another. And the reason they are, and this is the important thing that I'm trying to get across to politicians, is that they want to do it because they need money. I mean, they're in trouble financially. You mentioned that their ranks are dwindling, which they are. So they need money. They need dues for revenues, which they in turn pour back into campaign coffers of the people they want to get elected, so they can get laws passed to help them grow again. And right now, that conduit is the National Labor Relations Board, and they are pushing as hard as they can with the help of Craig Becker, who the president recessed appointed over almost a year ago now, and now has subsequently resubmitted his name for appointment to the National Labor Relations Board. And he is already overturning past decisions and proposing regulations that will make it easy for labor unions like the SEIU, which is one of the biggest offenders, to run corporate campaigns and force employers into signing neutrality agreements. Because at that point, they now have card check in place. And they have a window of time now between now and the elections, and they want to organize as many people as they can to get dues in so they can fund the president to get him reelected.
You say they overturn decisions?
Yeah.
Okay, now, wait a minute. Hold on a second. I thought a decision was a decision. How can you just arbitrarily overturn one man, right, Craig Becker? How can you just arbitrarily overturn it?
Well, there's a couple things going on. For a period of a couple of years, the NLRB only had a couple people on their board. And normally they're supposed to have, for a quorum, I believe, 4 to 5. And they went back, and the Supreme Court looked at many of the rulings and said, well, because we only had 2 people on the board, it's questionable whether these rulings are legitimate or not.
Oh.
So now Becker, knowing that, is going back and looking at things like, one like they just looked at was a Dana ruling in Indiana here a few years ago, where the union went in, United Auto Workers went into Dana and beat them up, Dana, really bad, and got them to sign a neutrality agreement. They subsequently went out.
Excuse me one second. What is Dana?
Dana is a parts manufacturer.
Oh, okay.
For the auto companies.
Okay.
And they got them to sign a neutrality agreement. The UAW then went out and harassed the employees until they got 50% of them plus 1 to sign union cards, and they automatically became union. Well, subsequent to that, a lot of the employees at Dana got upset because they were, bludgeoned into the union because of this neutrality agreement. And they petitioned for decertification, which they had the election and they decertified.
Wow.
Well, now the NLRB is coming back and saying, "Oh, wait a minute, we don't know that we can allow that to happen, because when you look at this, the company agreed to the neutrality agreement, and the neutrality agreement is a legitimate document, and we're not sure that people ought to be able to have a decertification vote, and that's where that's headed right now. And he's looking at those type things. Other things that he's done lately here, and he's the one that's pushing this whole thing. He's in control of the NLRB, not Wilma Liebman like she leads you to believe. But recently they said that the proposed rule where all companies have to post the National Labor Relations Act. Now, just the part that says that people can organize and have that option. Nothing about what their other options are with their employer or anything like that. And everybody thinks that's because, that's a good thing. People know what their rights are. Well, that has nothing to do with it. What it's really all about is that if they don't post it, the union will send in their organizers, and if the people don't have it posted, the business doesn't have it posted, they'll go back to the union hall and file an unfair labor practice against the company. Now, the remedy is either fines. One of the remedies is fines. The other is if it's a continued practice, that they have to give a list of all their employees and their home addresses. All these things are set up for the unions to run their campaigns against companies like they did against me and my company, and get them to sign a neutrality agreement. So, and everybody seems to be oblivious to what's going on right now.
Is there? I know that we're coming up on a commercial pretty soon, but is there no way to fight back again? Are they telling you that you could only post this one paragraph, or you can post the whole thing?
No, their recommendation is you post this one section that relates to union organizing activities.
We'll be right back to that intersection with a real American
Makes
hero.
my blood boil.
Yeah, Dave Bago. Well, Dave Bago didn't. His daughter's blood started to boil at a meeting, and Dave calmed her down. So the strategy is not to go in with boiling blood, but very calm blood and make their blood boil. We'll be right back. I'm Barry Farber. Sarah Pence, my co-host, on my flanker microphone. Dave Bago.